Hi guys, it's Stacy the Baby Maker, and I'm coming to you with the Baby Maker's fertility tips. This week we're going to talk about something that's been in the news, something a little bit controversial, and you might have seen the article published in USA Today about coconut oil. I think the title was, oh here it is, it's Coconut Oil Isn't Healthy, It's Never Been Healthy, and that was an article in USA Today. Now, what does coconut oil have to do with fertility? Well, a lot, because coconut oil can be really beneficial for your fertility in many different ways. So I want to kind of clear the confusion about coconut oil, and then also kind of steer you guys in the direction of how you can feel confident using it to help you optimize your fertility in a few different ways that you may or may not have known about. So first, let's do a little backstory about this coconut oil controversy. Well, years back, as coconut oil became more popular, journalists and nutritionists started talking about, and I think even back then it was the American Heart Association. Don't quote me on that though, but definitely journalists and nutritionists and people had been talking about coconut oil being really unhealthy. So then you had this other side of some medical doctors who look at holistic medicine, nutritional medicine, saying, no, that's not right. Coconut oil is being shown to be very healthy and helping with thyroid issues, metabolism, regulating blood sugar levels, etc. So you had this kind of controversy going on. And the nutritionist standpoint and some doctor's standpoint was that coconut oil was high in saturated fat, so that's why it was bad for you. Well, recently, within the last a year, maybe two at the longest, saturated fat has been shown to not be that bad for you. Now, of course, like everything else, too much is never a good thing, but a moderate amount of saturated fat in your diet is actually shown to be okay, and not a big issue as they once thought it was. What they did discover through researching that about saturated fat is sugar is a big issue. Huh, shocking, imagine that. So yes, sugar was the issue, not coconut oil. So interestingly enough, now the American Heart Association has come out with an article, relatively shortly after saturated fat has been shown to not be that big of an issue, to say that, oh, well, coconut oil still isn't healthy because it raises your LDL levels of your cholesterol, your bad cholesterol. Well, let's talk about this for a minute. Is that really a big issue? They say it's an issue because it can increase your risk of heart attack. But other research shows that that may not necessarily be true. For example, looking at a magazine, what was it called? It was the medical journal Arterial Sclerosis, Thrombosis, and Vascular Biology. Yeah, that's a mouthful. So a journal article in there talked about the fact that diabetics who have an increased risk of heart attack and stroke and cardiovascular disease had actually lower levels of LDL than their non-diabetic counterparts. Another study looking at over 100,000 people who had had heart attacks looked at their LDL levels, and they were actually lower than what the recommended LDL levels are to be healthy. So there isn't a lot of research going on in regards or showing that LDL being elevated is an issue. And as a matter of fact, another study out of Oxford University, I think it was in 2011 or 2012, came up and said that in the elderly, which they often put on statins to lower those LDL levels, what they found was the elderly over 60 who had higher levels of LDL were actually healthier. So the plot thickens in regards to LDL, etc., because they're worried about coconut oil increasing LDLs. Well, maybe that's not such a bad thing. But what's the big deal? What's the connection in regards to cholesterol anyway and your fertility? Well, most of your reproductive hormones are made from cholesterol, so you need a good amount of cholesterol. And when we look at LDL, they call it bad, but really most of the blood tests that they do don't look at the oxidized LDL, which tend to be the more inflammatory LDL and could be an issue. Now let's just talk about cholesterol as, it's kind of got a bad rap. Like, we all think of cholesterol as bad, but it's actually really, really important. Like I said, for your fertility, it's where your reproductive hormones come. So if you're driving those levels down really low, is that really good for our reproductive hormone levels? And the other thing to think about is cholesterol is actually doing what it's supposed to do. It goes in along the blood vessels and it patches areas that are inflamed or damaged. So if there's inflammation or things like excessive homocysteine that are causing damage to the sides of the blood vessels, cholesterol is going in there and helping us out and taking care of that and patching it up like a Band-Aid. But the more inflammation that's there due to what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies, the more cholesterol has to go and make more patches and patches upon patches, then eventually cause that narrowing of the arteries and then can lead to a heart attack. So they blame it on cholesterol when it's actually the inflammation or the damage that's being caused that's creating the issue, not necessarily the cholesterol. So anyways, I digress. How can coconut oil be beneficial then for your fertility? So let's say it's a non-issue that the LDL levels are elevated slightly with coconut oil. We know that saturated fats now are being shown to be not necessarily a bad thing, and sugar is. So what can you do with coconut oil to help you in regards to your fertility? Well, one, if you utilize it with intercourse as a lubricant, that's been shown to be able to, well, it's an antimicrobial, which basically means it kills off some of the bad bugs. So, and if the sperm have less of the bad bugs and more of the good stuff in the semen, they're able to swim faster. So by utilizing coconut oil as a lubricant can be twofold. One, to make intercourse more comfortable, but also two, to potentially improve the health of the sperm to be able to get to the egg and fertilize it. So coconut oil in that way can be very beneficial. Coconut oil can also be beneficial as a moisturizer, so if there is vaginal dryness or vaginal irritation, applying coconut oil can be very beneficial in helping ease and soothe those tissues. Generally, it's a fantastic moisturizer. I mean, if you're paying a lot of money for your moisturizer, make sure that you instead, for a month or so, get some organic coconut oil and let it melt, or heat it up slowly in a pot or something, and add some vitamin C, let's say like rose hip oil or something that's high in vitamin C, and then let it harden up again, and then utilize that as a moisturizer on your face and various areas of your body, and see if you notice a big difference in regards to the suppleness of your skin, how it looks, how it feels. And I use the moisturizer on a regular basis in regards to for facial and for body moisturizing as well. And for me, I think it's fantastic. Another use of coconut oil is in regards to oral hygiene. So there was a study back a few years back, I think it was in 2012 or 2013, that showed that people who had issues with their gums or poor oral health also correlated with poor fertility as well. So gum disease can be caused by bad bacteria in the mouth. So utilizing coconut oil, again, as that antimicrobial, can also help with oral health and hygiene, and then potentially improve your fertility. Now, let's take just an aside from that, is if the oral hygiene is not great, the gut health probably isn't great either, as far as the good bacteria in the gut and systematically throughout the body. So we do want to utilize things like probiotics as well. But coconut oil is a great adjunct to that as well. So utilizing coconut oil to swish around your mouth, to utilize as, you could use it as a mouthwash, I suppose, but look up oil pulling on Google, and you put a tablespoon of coconut oil in your mouth and then swish it around for 5 or 10 minutes and kind of pull it through your teeth with the force of your tongue, and et cetera, et cetera. And then that can help kind of reset some of the good bacteria in your gut, in your mouth. And then don't spit it down the sink. Maybe spit it into a bag and throw it out, or spit it into the toilet, because if it gets cold, it does tend to harden, and then there's a problem if you put it down your sink, potentially clogging that. I've not had that issue, but I'm not testing it out either. So coconut oil can be extremely beneficial as far as utilizing it for cooking, because we want to utilize things that are anti-inflammatory. I utilize it for like making popcorn. I'll utilize it for kind of the base if I'm making some scrambled eggs, or baking up some chicken or something, anything that I need to kind of put down that you would normally use margarine or butter or other things like that. Occasionally I will use ghee or butter, but I utilize coconut oil a lot for that too, because it has a very high heat point and it won't turn rancid when you're heating it up for cooking purposes. So lots and lots of really good uses for coconut oil. There's a little bit of controversy about heating up olive oil, whether that does make it rancid. Some people say it does, some people say it doesn't. I tend to like to use olive oil raw on salads to get those good oils and good fats from olive oil into me in that way. And I do recommend that you consider that for your fertility as well, some good raw olive oil on salads as well too. Okay, so that wraps up basically what we're talking about in regards to coconut oil. Hope it's cleared up some of the confusion that you may have had regarding that article that you may have seen, and hopefully you've learned something today. And remember, on Facebook we have a page called The Baby Maker, which you can like and then get notices from me a couple times a week of other ways to improve your fertility. And there's also a secret or private group, and so nobody else knows that you're necessarily having fertility issues if you're not comfortable just liking the Facebook page, that you can join the private group by sending me an email to info@naturalfertility.com. Just give me a couple sentences about what's going on in regards to your fertility. If you're just starting out or just starting to try, that's fine too. If you don't really have any fertility issues, that's fine too. You just want more about how to improve your chances of becoming pregnant, fantastic. We're just starting to build the community. So those are options for you, and just send me an email at info@naturalfertility.com. So if you have any questions about other consultations, the other thing that I was going to tell you, the last time I did a post on temperature charts and thermometers. I'm still looking for a really good, reliable thermometer. Hopefully within the next couple weeks I'll have one, and then I'll be posting that on the Baby Maker products page, and I'll let you guys know where that is and how you can get one. And as a member of our page or our community, you're going to get a steep discount on any products that I find that are cost effective and beneficial for your fertility. So another reason to join the group or like the Baby Maker page on Facebook. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll catch you next time on Baby Maker Fertility Tips. Thanks. Bye-bye.